up, guys? This is Nathan with No More Popcorn. I wanted to talk about this awesome collection today. Outlaw Gangster VIP. This is a limited release, 3,000 copies from Arrow Video. And Arrow Video has got the great Japanese releases. And this has become one of my favorite Yakuza series. There's 6 movies in here, and we're going to do a quick unboxing, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the movies. It's not the kind of individual boxes like you see with a lot of these releases, like they've all got their own little Blu-ray box. This is more of the fold-out thing, but it does have a booklet. You can see some of the new artwork they did with that, which is awesome. And there's pictures and essays in here. There's interviews. Really cool stuff. So yeah, booklet, that's great. And let's see, more artwork here, artwork, and more artwork. So you've got the full thing, and now you've got 2 movies on each disc. You've got Blu-ray and DVD. And I just finished watching this series a couple nights ago. And I've been kind of putting off finishing it, like kind of saving that last one because I liked it so much I didn't want it to end. It was kind of that thing. It's like movie series, I feel that way sometimes, or a good video game. Sometimes you like it so much you don't want to finish it. So Outlaw Gangster VIP is based on the writings of a real Yakuza from back, in the 50s, 60s, a guy named Goro Fujita. And this is played by a fantastic actor, Tetsuya Watari, who unfortunately just passed away only a couple weeks ago. And kind of that is what spurred me to, I need to finish this series, and I want to talk about it. I think these are now some of my favorite Yakuza movies. They have a good blend of action, drama, a little bit of romance, but they don't lay it on thick. They definitely feel like westerns, like a classic American western. And this is kind of a trend you see in Japanese movies, going from, like, say, samurai movies to Yakuza movies. The Yakuza movies are kind of an extension of the older samurai movies. They carry the same tropes. They just switch up the setting. And those samurai movies kind of come from, a lot of those borrow from old western movies, and then they kind of borrow back and forth because you've got Fistful of Dollars, borrowed from Yojimbo, things like that. So there's a lot of back and forth there with American movie making, and I really like this series. Watari is a great main character. He's kind of got boyish good looks. He's got that kind of boyish cuteness to him when he smiles, but then he'll get a grimace, and when he's pissed off, you're like, oh, that he's ready to fucking kill somebody. And he's known in the universe as Goro the Assassin because he's fucking deadly with a knife. It's a thing in these gangster movies set in the 50s. The gangsters don't really have guns too much. They've got knives. They've got tanto. They've carried it in their jacket. They pull out the knife. And so you've got these huge, sprawling knife fights. You'll have Goro against a dozen guys. And what I really like about the action in these is it's really messy. It feels like more like a real knife fight would be. There's a lot of just scrambling around, throwing things, just crazy slashing. It's not super choreographed, something like John Wick. Most movies now, you've got to have very tight fight choreography. These settings, a lot of times these fight scenes, will actually pull the camera way back. So you're back here, it's like you're up in the corner of the scene, and you're just seeing all this craziness happen at once. And then there are times when you will have a gun pulled out. It's a big deal. And they're even in the last movie in the series, which I just watched the other night. What's the last movie? It's called Kill, Kill! Exclamation mark. There's a guy, one of the kind of opposing gangsters, he's got his pistol, and he's like, yeah, I bought it from an American, and he's fondling his pistol. And he's like, oh yeah. I mean, it's very over the top. A lot of the stuff you'll see in these movies, you'll see carried forward into anime. These kind of over the top villains, the way the kind of thuggish mannerisms. It's kind of become a thing in itself. The pompadour haircuts, which you see a lot in Dead or Alive. But I think these are good introduction into the Yakuza kind of genre because they're more accessible. You know, my introduction to the Yakuza movies was with Ichi the Killer, Dead or Alive. You know, these Miike movies, which are, they all have an insane twist in some way. Miike, he's got a deranged mind, and he likes to fuck with his viewer. These are more, you know, action dramas. So they're interesting in that, okay, you got the first two movies. Gangster VIP and Gangster VIP 2. You've got Goro the Assassin. He basically gets arrested. He's defending his boss and kills somebody. He goes to jail. He's in jail for a while. He gets out of jail, you know, and he gets welcomed back into the clan, but it's that kind of story you see where he doesn't really want to be doing this anymore, but honor and obligation draw him back into it. It's very much a samurai thing. The Japanese word is giri. Giri is very deep devotion and obligation to the family. So that kind of family aspect carries through into the Yakuza movies. So Goro wants to get out of this life, but he just gets dragged back in. You see the same. GTA uses this story all the time. Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5 have the same kind of idea. So he gets dragged back into this lifestyle. He's the guy everybody's terrified of. And of course you have the love interest kind of come in. She's the reluctant woman. She doesn't want to get involved with the Yakuza lifestyle, but she can't help it because he's such a bad boy. And isn't that just how women actually are, really, when you look at it? So you have that dynamic. He's worried about this woman. She's worried about him. There's, in these movies, every single one of them, there's a young Yakuza who's not quite there. He's not mean enough. He's like too much of a nice guy. He's not brave enough, and he wants to get out. And the guy always gets killed. It always happens. And this is one thing you will see in these movies. Like the first two movies actually are back to back. The sequel carries straight from the first movie. So those are basically like one long movie. And then the next four are basically retellings. It's the same kind of theme. Goro is traveling into a new town. He gets off the train. He runs into some Yakuza. They want to fuck with him. And then they find out, oh, we fucked with the wrong guy. He kicks all their asses. He pisses off the local Yakuza. He gets tied up. He meets, one side of this is some guy that he used to run with, who's, you know, either was his senpai. It was probably his senpai. It's a guy that was above him in an organization who's like, man, I just need your help for this one thing. And he wants to get out, but he can't. So it's all retelling the same story, but from a slightly different angle. And the other thing is they reuse the same actors. So you'll have, like, his love interest in the first movie is his love interest in every movie after it. It's the same woman playing a different character, but basically playing the same character. But it's just done so well. It's beautifully shot. The action is great. Watari has such a good presence on the screen. Anytime he's there, whether he's just fucking walking around smoking a cigarette, he's always walking in a suit, and he's got his Zori, like his flip-flops. I don't know why he never has actual shoes, but it's his look. Leather jacket. No, he doesn't wear a suit. A lot of the other gangsters have suits. He'll have the leather jacket with the collar up. He'll have his kind of dress pants, and then he'll have just like the kind of flip-flops you would have in a bathhouse. And I don't know if that's just so he can get in and out of places without changing his shoes, you know, lacing up shoes. But he's always scuffling around in these flip-flops, and he kicks ass in them. You know, it's just whatever he's doing. He's just sort of he kind of becomes a vagabond that kind of takes on local Yakuza issues. He's always the kind of reluctant killer, but once he decides to kill, he fucking kills everybody. It's such a badass character. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend if you can find it. Outlaw Gangster VIP. I actually looked on Amazon, which is where I got this, and they had sold out. But I'm sure you could find a copy on eBay. Some of these might be available on streaming, but I think you definitely want to watch them in order. Like I said, at least the first two in order, because it seems like all of them, all the subsequent movies are patterned after them. But yeah, I'm not going to go through the entire plot of the first one. You kind of get the basic idea. It's all action, a little bit of romance, honor, obligation, these ties that bind us to the family, and the idea that my boss, the boss is like equates to a lord in a samurai movie. The boss is the lord, and even if he wants me to do something I don't want to do, I kind of have to do it, even if that means killing somebody I consider a friend. I have to do it because that's what honor dictates. I can't go against that. It's such an ingrained idea in Japanese society, or at least in these corners of Japanese society. I think today it would just translate to, okay, you're a salaryman, you're working for a corporation, and you have duty to the corporation. You work insane hours, work yourself to death because you have obligation and duty to the corporation. This is the same kind of thing. It's just now, instead of samurai, it's gone into the underworld, into this sort of burgeoning gangster society in Japan, because this is something that was kind of birthed out of that post-World War II culture. And with the same thing with using the knives, it kind of became the tanto became a dirty weapon at the time. It's like if you train in Japanese martial arts, you'll learn how to disarm a tanto, but you'll typically not learn how to use a tanto, because a tanto was considered a thug's weapon. It was considered the weapon of the underworld. So it kind of, in Japan, it became, looked down upon to learn how to use those weapons. So you get to see some of that in these stories. I love the huge knife fights. You don't see that a lot. Just everybody's got a fucking knife. Sometimes you'll see a bat or a sword, occasionally a gun, but typically it's just a lot of running, stabbing, and slashing, done in a very fast-paced, hectic way, and it's just a lot of fun. So yeah, check this out however you can. Check it out. It's awesome. Outlaw Gangster VIP complete collection from Arrow Video. It's badass.